Legal counseling is that group of particular attitudes, skills, and strategies that a lawyer utilizes mostly in his office to resolve specific needs and to meet specific problems. One of the most important aspects is the legal interviewing. In this video, we will present to you the structure, the stages of legal interviewing, and how it is done.
The term legal interviewing will refer to the interaction between the lawyer and the client for the purpose of identifying the client's problem and for the purpose of gathering information on which a solution to the problem can be based. This case is about unlawful detainer in which the respondent has not paid 3 months' rent to the complainant.
The first stage of legal interviewing is the preliminary stage. The first thing to consider under this stage is the agenda. Most of the time, the goal of the interview is to gather facts based on relevant law. It is essential to review relevant laws to determine the elements of the claim and what facts needs to be established in order to get the relief the client is looking for. The second thing to consider under the preliminary stage is the logistics. For example, do you have a safe and confidential space in which to interview the client? Have you secured the client's consent to record the conversation?
Ernest! Oh, Danica! Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have something to tell you. Just a minute ago, our firm received a phone call from our client, John Lloyd.
Okay.
And I have already scheduled the meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. in our conference room.
Alright. Okay. So, what's the nature of the client's duty?
I think this one is an unlawful detainer case. So, basic client profile is that John Lloyd owns numerous apartments in Guadalupe. The thing is, he has a particular tenant, and that tenant has not paid rent for 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's
that-
a big loss.
So that's the most basic information we have right now.
Okay. So, did you ask him to bring documents tomorrow, like a lease contract?
Yes, attorney, I already asked him to bring a copy of the demand letter,
Okay.
the lease contract, and 2 down entries.
Alright. Perfect. Before I forgot, did you ask him to at least be informed that tomorrow's conversation will be recorded?
Oh, not yet, attorney, but I will bring a recorder and secure his consent tomorrow.
Okay, alright, that's perfect. Since we're going to meet him tomorrow at the conference room, maybe after this one, let's just arrange the conference room so that he'll feel cozy and, you know, the feeling of being safe and comfortable.
Yes, attorney, I agree with you.
That's perfect, yeah.
Once your interview is planned and the client walks right into your office, it is important to take time to do introductions to build rapport. It will help build your relationship with the client, where your client will trust you and is willing to talk about intimate details of their lives.
Good morning. This is the Francisco Flores office.
Yes, sir, in the office.
Yeah, by the way, I'm John Lloyd. I'm here for a meeting to the lawyers.
Oh, you're John Lloyd. I'm attorney Francisco. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Attorney.
You're welcome.
Oh, hi, you must be John Lloyd. I'm
Yes.
attorney Nelson Flores. Welcome
Good
to
morning,
the
attorney.
office. Oh, good morning. How's your day today?
It's good.
Were you stuck in the traffic?
Just a light traffic.
Oh, well, that's great to
No.
hear. Okay, so
There's
since...
really no problem coming here.
Oh, perfect. Alright, so you're here for a meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe let's proceed to the conference room. Please come in. Follow me.
The second stage of the process is the description of the problem stage, which is the heart of an interview. Most interviews start with broad, open-ended questions that allow the client to fill in the details. It creates a space for the client to talk about the things that are most important to him or her. As you move through the interview, narrower follow-up questions are raised to get a more precise understanding of the client's situation.
Before we start, sir, we would like to ask for your consent to record the conversation and take notes so that we won't miss out any details. Would that be okay?
It's okay.
Thank you.
And also, we are bound by confidentiality clause between a client and a lawyer, which means that anything you said here will stay here.
Thank you, Attorney.
Just feel safe. And how can we help you today?
Attorney, I'm here to to tell you about my problem.
Okay.
I have this apartment in Guadalupe.
All right.
Now I've been renting this apartment for more than 10 years now. So I have a client. She started to stay there in 2021, and there was no problem in paying the rent the whole year. But just this year, by the way, her name is Bea. So last February, she wasn't able to pay her monthly rent. So I asked her, I called her on the phone, and then she told me that her actually she has a business. It's a spa business. She told me that she's experiencing business reverses. That's why she has difficulty paying her rent. So I told her, so when can you pay the rent? And she told me that she wants to pay in March. So for 2 months together with the March rental. But unfortunately, she was not able to pay me. So I tried to text and call her again, but this time around, I cannot reach her. I think she's avoiding me.
Oh my gosh.
So there's nothing I can do. Then for another month, I waited for her call or text. I went there in the apartment, and then I brought the demand letter.
Okay.
This is the demand letter that I gave to the caretaker. I think she was able to give this to Bea. So she was unable to pay worth 3 months rent, and that's the problem. I want to get the rent, and if possible, I want her to vacate the premises because she's the only tenant who's not paying regularly, and I don't want that in my business.
Oh my gosh. Alright, since you mentioned that there's this lease contract as well as the demand, can you show it to me?
Yeah.
Alright. Please take note that you receive the demand letter as well as the contract of lease. Alright.
The third stage is the clarification stage, where the council seeks to acquire additional information on certain facts and asks further questions, then tells the client his understanding of the events.
Okay, so based on what you stated earlier, that you have a client named Bea who's renting your apartment in Guadalupe.
Yes.
Okay, and then she defaulted her payments for 3 months already.
Yes.
And
3 months already.
okay, so the start of the unpaid rent was on February 2022. So let me just ask you, you mentioned that you texted and called her, and there's this compromise agreement that she will pay by the end of March 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, I called her last February when the first time she was able to pay the rent. And then she told me that she will pay the rent at the end of March. So together with the March rent.
Alright. Can you tell us when was that call happened?
It was February 28th, last day of February.
So does this mean that the payment for rent will be scheduled every end of the month or
Yes,
start of the month?
That's correct. I think that would be end of the month.
Did you happen to visit her for the first few months that she defaulted her payment, or you just texted and called her?
You mean personally?
Yes.
Yeah, I went to the apartment last February. That's just one time. And then the rest I tried to call and text her.
Oh my gosh.
And then I went back in April to give the money.
How about in March? Why did you not visit the apartment? I hope that she's there.
I don't know if there's a need to visit her because we already agreed that she will pay at the end of March.
I see. Alright, so you're actually hoping that she will guarantee such promise.
Yes.
Did you not went to the barangay to ask for help in seeking those
not yet.
payments?
Not yet.
Alright. Okay, so I can see that based on your demand letter, you actually asked her to either pay the rent or vacate the premises. Is that correct?
Yes, I want her to pay the rent or else she can vacate.
The fourth stage of legal interviewing is the advising stage. Once you've given your client space to talk about what brings her here today, the council invites the client to describe what solutions or remedies the client hopes for and to review possible options.
Okay, Sir John Lloyd, based on the facts presented, there's this possible unlawful detainer case. However, we advise you to settle this matter outside of court. Reason being, it's because it's costly for you to pay expensive litigation fees and it will take a lot of time for that matter to settle. So, are you open in settling this matter amicably?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Alright, okay. That's great to hear. Before we proceed with settling amicably with the other party, I want to ask again if you really wanted Bea to pay the rent and leave the premises?
Yes, attorney. I want her to pay the rent and then just leave.
Alright, so since we're going to settle this amicably, what if Bea wants to stay? What are your conditions?
Maybe I can ask for the rent with interest, and then after that, I would like her to promise or maybe give a security in case she will default. Then I will take the security.
Finally, we have the closing stage. This stage involves the setting of expectations where the client is given an indication of what is expected to happen next. In terms of your conclusion and next steps, talk to the client about any follow-up that needs to be done both on your end and the client. For example, are there any documents that you need her to sign? Has she signed the retainer letter?
Sir, since we have already gathered the sufficient facts and we already know what you want, we will lay down the following options for you. So first is, since you have decided to settle amicably, we will be in touch with Bea next week and see how it progresses. If it is fruitful, then we will just draft a memorandum of agreement and finalize your bonds and various conditions as well. And however, should that fail, then we will have to refer the case to the barangay. And hopefully it settles there, but just in case it doesn't, then that's the time we have to go to court.
Okay.
And that option isn't really something we would want for you to have because it's really a lengthy process. And that's why we highly encourage you to settle this extrajudicially.
That will be fine with me.
Oh, and before we close, we have drafted our schedule of fees and your engagement letter. If it's alright with you, you can just clearly sign at the bottom.
Okay. Thank you, attorney.
As we have known, cases are won in the law office and not in a courtroom. A lawyer must seek a wisest course of action before resorting to a legal battle. What we have witnessed in the video was how a complainant sought legal advice from a lawyer regarding his tenant's 3 months unpaid rent. The pre-interview preparations were shown and the 5 stages of a client interview were being conducted, following the structure of a legal interview, which were the preliminary stage, the description of the problem stage, the clarification stage, the advising stage, and lastly, the closing stage. In the next video, we will witness the defendant seeking legal advice from a lawyer on how to resolve the demand letter sent from her landlord requesting the defendant to vacate the premises she occupied and pay the 3 months unpaid rent. This video will show you how they apply the stages of a legal interview.
Hello, good day, attorney.
Good day, ma'am. Please take a seat.
Thank you, attorney. Attorney, I am Bea, and I have come to your office to seek for your legal advice because I have this problem which requires your legal expertise. Actually, attorney, you were referred to me by my neighbor Marites, because according to her, you were one of the best lawyers in the city, and hope you could give me help with this, attorney.
So, how are you feeling today, ma'am?
I am fine, attorney. However, I am a bit worried of my problem with you.
I'm glad that you're fine, and just keep your worries away because we are here to help you. By the way, before we start with this client interview, I just want you to know that as a lawyer, I am bound by the Code of Professional Responsibility, and I have the duty to preserve the confidences and secrets of a client. And I assure you that everything you will say will be held in the strictest confidence. And just become and say all the relevant matters in this problem so that we can formulate a winning solution. Are we clear on that, ma'am?
Noted on that, attorney.
Miss Bea, can you tell me what happened?
Okay. Attorney, I have received a copy of a demand letter from my landlord, and this demand letter states that I am to vacate the premises and the collection of the unpaid rental for the past 3 months. Now, attorney, I am a good payer, attorney. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, our spa business suffers great financial loss, and the money that was supposed to be for the payment of the rentals was instead paid to USJR for my tuition fees, since I'm also studying in that school.
By the way, did you bring documents that are relevant in this case?
I have here, attorney, the copy of the demand letter. This one, attorney.
Can I take a look first?
Yes, attorney. Sure.
So you mean that, as what you have said, your lender will evict you if you will be unable to pay your unpaid rents?
That's correct, attorney.
Have you talked with your lender since then?
Oh, never, attorney.
I understand your situation, ma'am, and sometimes we are unable to pay our obligations for some reasons that are beyond our reach. So how do you want us to settle this problem?
It's like this, attorney. Really, attorney, I have no intention in evading my financial obligations with my landlord. The only favor I could ask is that he will give me time, a reasonable time, to settle my obligations in consideration with the financial struggles I am experiencing right now. And also, attorney, and if I could only ask my landlord to give me also an extension to be allowed to stay in the premise while until such time that I can look for a place to transfer. That's all I'm asking, attorney.
Actually, Miss Bea, what you said is very feasible, and we can talk with your landlord in order to discuss your proposals and also hear his side. And we will initiate the negotiation proceedings in order to avoid possible litigation, and we will try our best to settle this amicably. As for now, I will further study these documents, and in order to have a reasonable proposal, and these documents will also serve as part of our records. Rest assured that we will keep you updated on this. And do you have any other matters to clarify, ma'am?
There is, attorney. How about the fees, attorney? Aside from the consultation fee, is there any other fees that I should need to pay for your services?
For that matter, my secretary will discuss to you about our standard legal fees. And we also have our flexible billing arrangements. So if you are amenable with that, we can have our service contract. Do you have any other matters, ma'am?
No more, attorney. That's all for now. I feel relieved after talking to you with the matter, attorney. Thank you so much for your help, attorney.
You're welcome, and it's my pleasure to help my clients.
Thank you so much, attorney.
Legal counseling is essential to avoid legal battle. A court proceeding must only be resorted if it is inevitable to litigate, where there are difficult questions of law and other remedies have been exhausted. Avoiding legal battle can only be achieved if a lawyer knows how to convince litigants to settle their case amicably outside a court, and only if he has a working knowledge of the fundamental and applicable law and a technique from separating facts from fiction.
More so, if he has a good interviewing and counseling skills. This shows that practice of law is not only limited within the confines of the courtroom, but also outside the court, which includes legal advice and counsel and the preparation of legal documents. A lawyer may also render any kinds of services that involves legal knowledge and skills. That being said, the foregoing issue can only be achieved amicably if both litigants are willing to compromise with the help and guidance of a legal counsel, who has the right technique and skills to legally guide them in resolving the issue and settle the case out of court.